Hello summoners and welcome back to another episode of OP Pick or Ban. We've made it to the beginning of Season 10. I want to thank all of you guys who have stuck with us this entire season, and we're so excited to give you guys the best tips and tricks this season to help you guys out. In this video, we're going to be covering champion picks that you need to be aware of for this first patch. Pick, ban, or make sure you're ready to counter them. We're going to go over every role as always. And for our question of the day, do you guys think that there are any OP picks that players don't know about? I personally think Nocturne in a solo lane is ridiculously strong when left in isolation. Junglers don't always punish him, so he's often free to dominate the lane and then use his ultimate to start snowballing elsewhere on the map. And although we find this video super helpful, and I'm glad you guys do too, if you are one of the people who want to take your gameplay to the highest level, then I highly recommend getting a challenger coach over at ProGuides.com. We have a ton of content just like this to help you guys get better. However, we also have coaches ready to serve you guys. Not only are they super knowledgeable of the game, but they're extremely nice people. You might even make a friend. So what are you waiting for? Click the link below and start improving now. Okay, to start off the video, we're going to be starting with none other than the top lane. And the first champion we're going to be talking about is going to be Ornn. Typically, most players don't view Ornn as a ban-worthy character, and we generally agree. He's not your typical 1v9 champion, and even when he's ahead and able to bully you, it's not the same as facing a 3-0 Kled or Darius with Ghost, who can run you down the lane over and over again. However, he is still very OP, and his ban rate should incentivize players to pick him up. Instead of Yasuo and Riven, Ornn carries in subtle ways. His passive allows all of his allies to gain a little extra stat boost as he can upgrade their items. Aside from this, you'll also want to pick him up for his hard engage and crowd control. For a tank, Ornn's damage output is quite high. In the grand scheme of things, his damage is average, but not so low that it would prevent him from being OP. Next up is Malphite, yet another tank making the list. But this guy's power is a lot easier to visualize. Literally, you just watch him press R and almost one-shot your ADC while never dying. You have to think to yourself, how is this guy balanced? Well, Malphite is a very powerful tank, likely avoiding a lot of nerfs because the counterplay to him is to play magic damage champions. His laning phase is volatile as he doesn't like to build magic resist, but still strong enough that in low elo you can get away with blind picking him. It's a matter of understanding how much damage you can take, farming up to build an early Spectre's Cowl when necessary, and then poking out your opponents. Against AD champions, spam Q for free low. The combination of his Q damage, Comet, and Scorch can push nearly any enemy out of the lane, or open up some free solo kills. Our third pick for the top lane is going to be Fiora. She's definitely in a good spot after the Conqueror changes. As the meta continues to settle in, it's becoming more apparent that Conqueror is such a powerful rune, guys. Many champions in the top lane also use this keystone, but Fiora has solid matchups into many of them. You can blind pick Fiora and still find yourself in winning or skill matchups around half of your games. When you're picking second, you'll likely be picking her under favorable circumstances as well. Fiora is one of those ticking time bomb champions. Leave her alone long enough and then the game ends. This alone makes Fiora such a commanding force on Summoner's Rift. Pick her up if you want to carry games with map pressure and split pushing. If you're not about that life, we highly suggest throwing a ban against her. If you play tanks, you're probably doing yourself a disservice by not banning her or Darius at the very least. And as a little side note, we do suggest banning Sett because he's a new champion. It's never fun to have someone first timing a champion on your team, and it's best to let some time pass before we let him onto the Rift. Okay, we're going to show you guys those builds one last time before we move on to the jungle. Kicking off the jungle is going to be Ekko. This guy's been killing it for a while now, and he's not slowing down the pace at all. I love this guy. He's just such a powerful pick with insane statistics to back him up. Ekko clears pretty quickly, scales well, and can absolutely dominate games after picking up a single kill. He snowballs so hard, partially because his initial power spikes are so cheap. Runic Echoes as well as Protobelt are inexpensive items, contributing to how snowbally he is. A single kill or two can give him item leads much more quickly than other champions, and he can use these power advantages to take favorable fights. We talked about him a lot, but we'd like to reiterate that Ekko's biggest strength is his ability to get in and get out. He can jump in to assassinate squishy targets with practically no commitment, Not what you'd like from a partner, but a wonderful attribute to have as an assassin champion for sure. Aside from this, Echo is a well-rounded champion. He's mobile, has crowd control, deals excellent damage, and can use his abilities aggressively and defensively as well. Next up is going to be Master Yi. In the current state of the jungle that rewards passive power farming, Master Yi is thriving as an herbivore. If you forget about him and allow him to continue to farm up, you're going to regret it. He currently sports a high ban rate at nearly 17%, and for good reason. Junglers hate playing a game where if they don't play ridiculously well early on, they automatically lose. That's what it feels like pretty often when you play against a Master Yi, since he'll eventually outduel practically anyone. Master Yi takes advantage of all his runes pretty well, and his item build makes him one of the strongest split pushers and duelists in the game. You can replace Wit's End with a Blade of the Ruined King if you don't value the magic resist or want the movement speed stealing active. Since Master Yi attacks quickly and has an on-hit steroid with his E, he benefits significantly more than other champions with Ginsus. Stacking on other on-hit effects makes him extremely powerful, and you can either play cleanup duty in teamfights or hard split push, diving enemies under their turrets. Okay, check out these jungle builds one more time as we head down to the mid lane. Our first mid lane pick is going to be not very surprising. It's going to be Kassadin. We mentioned him alongside Diana in our last video, and for good reason. His win rate is way too high for the type of champion that he is. If you find yourself in a difficult physical damage matchup, consider switching up your build and adding some extra armor. Frozen Heart is not a bad item if it'll help you survive and scale up. Kassadin's late game is insane, and if you can reach it, it's pretty much GG every time. Now, he is receiving a small nerf this patch, but this should only affect his early game. Usually movement speed nerfs are more impactful in the late game, but because Kassadin is already so mobile and doesn't rely heavily on basic attacks, it's pretty insignificant. If anything, this just means that he'll have a harder time running away in a bad matchup, as well as chasing down foes who used to be slower than him. Diana is still popping off like she was last patch. Having access to her E before level 6 has changed a lot actually. She's able to apply kill pressure much earlier and can also assist her teammates earlier than before as well. The days of patiently sitting in lane hoping that nothing bad happens until you hit 6 are over. Diana means you can finally play the early game. Diana deals a ton of damage, has great backline access, and is somewhat tanky because of her W and the items she likes to generally build. Fun fact, she had a 52.8% win rate as preseason ended. Our final mid lane pick is going to be Cassiopeia. She's still abusing Conqueror because of how quickly she can max it out. It's honestly ridiculous since the cooldown on her E is so short, she can almost instantly gain 10 stacks as well as that huge ability power boost. Cassiopeia is basically the hyper-carry equivalent of a late-game marksman for AP champions. Her consistent high damage output allows her to quickly shred through enemy champions, as well as neutral objectives. Just make sure to pick up a blue buff before trying to take on Baron or Dragon, as running out of mana can definitely be the end of it all. Especially consider picking Cassiopeia if your comp needs some good disengage, or if you want to CC some mobile foes. While she is immobile, if you can manage to scale up and finish your items, they'll have a harder time bursting you down. Miasma can ground opponents that rely on dashes or jumps, while her ultimate can put a stop to any dives. That's it for the mid lane. We're going to show you guys these builds one last time until we head down into the bot lane. Another patch, another victory for Caitlyn. Some things just don't change. When playing her, try to take advantage of Stormrazor, as the built-in slow can make her even more oppressive than before. After being slowed, Caitlyn has no issues following up with another basic attack or two. If you're not careful, you're going to eat a lot more poke than you'd like. Later into the game, this item also allows her to kite more effectively, as the movement speed bonus from her fleet footwork and the slowing auto attack from Stormrazor come out simultaneously. Caitlyn bullies her enemies and pushes hard, meaning she can take lane priority and help her team secure those early dragons. She's so powerful right now, and if you don't play her, I definitely suggest banning her out because she's so frustrating to play against. Up next in the bottom lane, we have Senna. Just like Caitlyn, her long range can prove problematic for most opponents. Senna is more of a scaling champion than anything else. She needs to farm up and gain passive stacks to slowly increase her range. By the late game, however, she'll easily outrange Caitlyn as well as the entire cast, as she'll usually throw in a rapid-fire cannon as well. Her long-range auto attacks allow her to poke her opponents down prior to a fight, and also makes it hard for her opponents to dive her. It's already pretty difficult because she can use her E as some form of protection for herself and her allies. Just don't let them get too close to you, as this will render the cloaking properties useless. Senna's range doesn't end with her basic attacks. Her global ultimate is amazing and leads to some insane utility as well as snipes throughout the game. Even aside from all of this, Senna provides a ton of utility. She brings the whole package while being relatively safe, so take advantage of her. As the game progresses, also feel free to sell your Duskblade for Lord Dominik's Regard or Mortal Reminder as you see fit. And that wraps up our bot lane picks, so check out these builds one more time as we finish with supports. As the preseason concluded, Soraka finished with a 53.2% win rate. The question is, how did she get there? Every game has a 3 in 4 chance to at least have one Ocean Dragon in it. Consistent nerfs to it have shown how ridiculously powerful it is, and Soraka is one of the most notable abusers of it. She actually held the second highest win rate, the first being Janna, but we really value what Soraka brings to her team. Sustain is becoming more and more important because of how impactful Ocean Dragon really is. When you're playing Soraka, you actually help your team out whether or not you get it. If you're unable to secure one, while your enemies are, you can at least counteract their sustain with some of your own. In games where you do secure one or several Ocean Dragons, well, you already know it's going to be really fun to play against a Soraka who has one. That's a joke, by the way. This is my way of coping with the thought of it. Soraka has also benefited a lot from support item changes. More early income means that she can finish a core item like Ardent Sensor more quickly, allowing her to boost her lane partner's damage output more quickly as well. Her items are rather inexpensive, so she can hit those power spikes very early on. Pro tip, run barrier on her so you don't get bursted down and can more liberally heal your teammates. Wrapping it all up is going to be, no surprise, Nautilus. He's proven time and time again that he's one of the hardest solo queue carries because of his high damage output and insane crowd control. Nautilus's hooks are devastating as they lead into his auto attack route and potentially an ultimate to boot. Oh, that rhymed. Any picks he makes are going to lock down those targets for a while, so as long as you have teammates nearby, they should be dead. Let's just hope you have teammates. During the laning phase, Nautilus's damage output is insanely high. His E's base damage is already impressive, and he also gains some bonus damage on auto attacks when his W shield is active. If you thought that wasn't enough, his passive provides a little bit of bonus damage, and of course his hook also deals damage as well. It falls off later for sure, but your job early on is to get your lane partner and teammates rolling anyway. Take advantage of his early dueling power to play aggressively and bully out your opponents. Also, that hook is actually one of the easiest skill shots to land in the game, but don't quote me on that as I've had my opponents dodge it once in a while. At least compared to other hooks, the hitbox is quite forgiving, so picking up Nautilus as opposed to other similar champions is a bit easier. Alright, that's going to wrap up our picks, so check out those builds one last time as we finish up the video. Thanks again, guys, for watching. We really appreciate the support from last season. We're ready to take it to the next level in Season 10 for you guys. If you have any recommendations on how we can improve our content, please let us know down below. Good luck, you guys, in your placement games as we kick off Season 10. I know that I'm about to hop into Ranked, so here's to hoping that we all find those wins we're looking for. If you guys are having trouble with your placements, go check out Pro Guides. We'll help you out. We'll tell you what you're doing wrong, and hopefully you guys can get into a great placement rank this season. That's it for the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Good luck in your next few games, and we'll see you on the Rift.